To Fox News Alert, President Trump announcing the U.S. military has carried out strikes against ISIS terrorists in the northwest Nigerian region in response to the killing and kidnapping of Christians in the region.
And this comes amid fears of an ISIS resurgence following deadly attacks overseas.
Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy joining us now from the nation's capital with the latest. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning. The Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is saying his department is always ready and that ISIS found that out on Christmas. The commander-in-chief, President Trump's official word on this came via Truth Social in a post that says, "Tonight, at my direction as commander-in-chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who have been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay, and tonight there was." This follows a handful of ISIS-linked or ISIS-inspired attacks that rattled the whole world this holiday season, including 2 Iowa National Guard members killed in Syria. That was Staff Sergeant William Nathaniel Howard and Staff Sergeant Edgar Brian Torres Tavar. And then a pair of incidents targeting Christians in Nigeria at a church on November 18th, and then the kidnapping of 315 St. Mary's students in Nigeria who have all now been fully accounted for. The Bondi Beach terrorists are also believed to have ISIS links. And when you look at this president, Donald Trump, for a lot of his second term, when he talks about the United States military might, he refers back to his first term when he ordered a huge campaign against ISIS that basically took ISIS out globally for years. And so this is not something the Trump administration wants to see bubble back up, which is why we are getting word about an overwhelming military campaign in Africa overnight.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the video. This is Justin Paul, and reacting here to the news that Trump announced strikes on ISIS targets in Nigeria. If you've been paying attention to news coming out of Nigeria, you know that Christians in Nigeria have been targeted. As the president said, they've been slaughtered, and there's been a lot of kidnappings, and even over in Bondi Beach in Australia, they're saying that all of these events have been either carried out by ISIS or they've been influenced by those who are aligning themselves with ISIS's goals and propaganda. And the United States military carried out operations there, and they're saying the northern part of Nigeria. And again, this is in retaliation to these groups carrying out killings of Christians in that area, in that country. So, it's just one of those things to where, doing, like they were saying, during President Trump's first, President Trump's first presidency, did a lot of work to try to minimize ISIS and to try to do as much as he can to try to get rid of that whole group. And he definitely doesn't want to see them gain any strength or gain any traction or movement or anything like that, and definitely wants to deter any further actions of terror against people within Nigeria or outside of that area, anywhere around the world. Definitely don't want to see ISIS become another problem more than they've already become. And of course, there's always going to be young people who are going to come up and be influenced by certain things, and just trying to do his best to keep that from happening. I'm going to go ahead and play just a little bit more of this video here.
Back to you.
Yeah, Peter, it's notable when a major military move takes place on a holiday. Do you think that the symbolism of protecting Christians on Christmas factored into this timing?
Knowing President Trump, yes. He's got Raising Cane as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He is the person that President Trump credits with coming up with the idea of basically the way that they quickly and decisively took out ISIS in his first term. The president always tells this story about how he was getting a briefing from some military advisors and they said it was going to take months or years to take out ISIS. He talked to Dan Kane, who is now the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and he came up with a way to do it in weeks or months. And then that was that. And so, yes, the symbolism of doing this on Christmas should not be ignored.
Hey, Peter, is there any indication that there will be more dialogue between the White House and the Nigerian president? I mean, remember, over the past year, we've seen Nigeria's leadership sort of downplaying that there's a problem there when we've obviously seen what's unfolding in Nigeria. And now this strike sort of coming on a surprise level. Do we anticipate further engagement, any meetings set?
We don't have any word about any kind of engagement like that, like you're asking about. And based on President Trump's statement, it would seem like President Trump isn't really eager to engage until ISIS terrorists are basically out of the equation.
Peter, you and I have had a chance to cover the White House for quite some time. I'm just curious, in your experience, have you seen anything like this? Is this atypical from your perspective? And what, if anything, might we expect to happen beyond what has already transpired?
No, this would be consistent with President Trump's MO, which is to address the threats that global terrorists pose without putting American troops on the ground. There were obviously troops in harm's way while they were carrying out this attack last night on the ISIS terrorists, and there is no reason to think that anybody had any injuries on the U.S. side. But President Trump's MO is use American military might from as far away as possible and not put any more American boots on the ground, which is what happened last night.
Yeah, and the fact that he carried out these attacks in coordination with the Nigerian government is key. And as you said, one of his greatest achievements was crushing the Islamic State Caliphate in his first term, and he's not going to let it bubble up again. That is for sure.
So, as they were saying, they're coordinating with the Nigerian government, and it seems like they're trying to cooperate with the United States to, strike these targets and just to keep ISIS from, creeping back up and becoming a major player in the whole terror game. Tough job, man. Again, very, very tough cause, but when you're getting reports that Christians in these countries are being targeted, their kids are being kidnapped, and God knows what else is happening. Someone has to step up and do something to assist, and of course we all know that's going to be the United States of America. Got another clip here reiterating.
Breaking news this morning, we are learning new details about the deadly strike operation that President Trump says he ordered on Islamic State terrorists in Nigeria. Listen to this. That, as you can see, released from the Department of Defense yesterday evening. The U.S. military reports multiple ISIS terrorists were killed in the attack, which the president first announced on social media. This comes after the president for months has warned that the United States could take military action in the African nation, claiming that ISIS had been targeting Christians in the region. The president writing in part this on social media about it: "I have previously warned that these terrorists, that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay." And tonight, he goes on to say, the Department of War executed numerous perfect strikes, as only the United States is capable of doing. Now, Nigeria confirmed the two countries coordinated in this effort, in this strike. Their foreign minister joined CNN earlier this morning.
What took place yesterday clearly underscores the fact that Nigeria is not lacking in will and a commitment to the fight against terrorism.
CNN's Nada Bashir tracking this one for us. Nada, what is the very latest that you're picking up?
Well, we're still not getting full details just yet from U.S. officials with regards to the details surrounding this strike. What we do know is the U.S. Africa Command has said that multiple Islamic State targets and militants were killed overnight in these deadly strikes. We've heard, as you mentioned, from the U.S. president himself addressing this military action in social media, saying and describing this as a powerful and deadly strike against Islamic State terrorists. And this strike took place in the northern Sokoto region of Nigeria, just bordering Niger. Now, at this stage, again, no clear details with regards to the impact. What we do know is that this was carried out in coordination with the Nigerian government. We've heard from a Nigerian presidential spokesperson and advisor saying that both the US and Nigeria are on the same page when it comes to tackling these security concerns. And of course, what we've been hearing from the White House for several weeks now and from the US president himself is the ramping up of concern around the protection of Nigeria's Christian community against extremist attacks. And it's important to note and underscore that, of course, Nigeria does have a deep-rooted history of security troubles when it comes to Islamist extremist groups. But these attacks that we have seen in the past have targeted both Nigeria's Christian and Muslim communities, two of the largest religious communities in the country. So this is certainly a historic concern within the country, but we are now seeing very clearly that first-hand action by the US military in Nigeria, according to officials, in coordination with the Nigerian government.
Nada, thank you so much. Much more detail to learn here for sure. Appreciate it.
And the president warning, of course, there could be more to come in Nigeria, writing on Truth Social to the, quote, dead terrorists, warning there will be, in his words, many more if the slaughter of Christians continues.
So, the president is very clear on his stance on this. He's very clear on, what his goal is. And, he sent the threat out. He sent the warning out. If you continue to kill Christians and slaughter Christians in Nigeria, we're going to come for you. Being very, very clear on that. And I also think it's a way for the military to keep themselves on point, exercise, all of the strengths. They may have new weapons that they wanted to test out and stuff like that. So, instead of going out to the ocean and testing them, or going into the desert and testing them, they're able to have a reason or a purpose to test them on in actual real world situations. And kind of getting themselves prepared for just in case something broader is on the rise with Venezuela and stuff like that. And just making sure we stay on point as a military superpower. So we'll see, if things continue, if there's anything else that we'll be getting our hands into. And as the president was saying, just trying to do enough deterrent without putting American troops in harm's way. Sending off these missiles from like their their destroyers and stuff like that, and the ships that are in these areas, because we always have ships all over the world in certain key areas just in case we have to do strikes and stuff like that. So we always keep our military vessels in a good range of these areas to where when we send strikes, they'll reach and try to definitely hit their target. So they said that there was a success, and it looks like we have the full backing of the Nigerian government and military as well, in helping them try to get rid of any type of ISIS cells that are going to grow within their country.
Joining me now in the group chat, Sungmin Kim, CNN political analyst and White House reporter at the Associated Press; Ashley Davis, former George W. Bush White House official; and Eugene Scott, contributing columnist at the Boston Globe and visiting fellow at the Johns Hopkins University Agora Institute. It's nice to see all of you this morning. Sungmin, when we look at where things stand, the fact that the president really has cast himself as this peacemaker, often talks about the wars that he says that he has ended, and yet we are seeing this approach not just in Nigeria, but in other pockets around the world. How do we square what we hear from the president and what we see on the ground?
Well, how the administration squares it is that this is all part of President Trump's strategy, his foreign policy doctrine of peace through strength, obviously. However, you have, on the one hand, you have, him touting all the conflicts that he has helped resolve abroad, but then you see a lot of offensive military action abroad. And, his aides don't see that necessarily as a contradiction. They say that part of keeping broader peace is making sure that these targets abroad know that the U.S. is willing to strike if necessary. But I also think that this is a contradiction that you're going to be hearing on Capitol Hill, particularly as it relates to these strikes and the strikes that we've been seeing elsewhere in the country. You had the Pentagon saying yesterday that they did this in coordination with Nigeria's government. However, you're already starting to hear from Capitol Hill. What about coordination with us? Is this something that lawmakers should have authorized? And I think that tension, that conflict, is also what we're going to be hearing in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, one would anticipate that, especially we'll likely hear a little bit of it today, but certainly once lawmakers.
So, of course, the lawmakers want to be in on all these decisions, which I'm 50-50 on that. They definitely are supposed to be in on these decisions. A lot of times the president is just going directly to Pete Hegseth or, any of his other commanders and giving the word that, hey, yeah, this is what we want to do. And, those actions are being carried out. But it's going to be interesting to see, again, what becomes of all of this. This is, in my opinion, this is just the beginning. But if you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.